So I just saw Mute, and it was probably the worst thing on Netflix since the Cloverfield Paradox. No joke. Mute is directed by Duncan Jones, who many will know from the film Moon and Source Code, and also World of Warcraft. This film follows a mute sort of Amish man living in a technologically advanced world. Think Blade Runner meets For Better or For Poorer, and it really isn't that great of a movie, like, at all. The first thing to note about this film is that the screenwriting is pretty abysmal. It's like it was written by some kid in, like, middle school and was like, I'm going to make this into a movie someday, and it turns up to be a really, really bad movie in execution. Now, that's not to say that there isn't anything good about the film, but there is reasons why this film is really bad. So let's get into the things that work. Production-wise, it looks okay. It's a really neat-looking movie. Cinematography-wise, lighting-wise, it looks fine. The acting is pretty damn good, with Paul Rudd giving his best performance. Or not really his best performance, but like the best performance of the film, considering the fact that the rest of the movie is just so cliched, boring, and downright insulting in some areas. Now let's get to the things that really, really suck about this film. The concept alone is actually really interesting, because to have this sort of dichotomy between Amish people living in a futuristic setting would be enough for, like, its own film. It was really cool to have that idea be propped up. However, they don't do anything with it. The fact that this movie wastes all of its 2-hour runtime on just this whole stupid investigation for the lead actor's sort of girlfriend, I guess, is just so stupid. Nothing really happens in this film that's very consequential, and almost none of it is very interesting or intriguing. Honestly, this is a movie that you could skip. But granted, I could just say, at this point that the film is just boring and and just don't watch it. But the thing with this movie is that it goes that one extra step to being from boring to downright stupid. There's a character in this movie played by Justin Theroux who is a pedophile. And oh boy. The way they depict the pedophile in this film is that apparently this character's pedophilia is supposed to be this sort of like cheeky little character trait. It's supposed to be funny, and no, I'm sorry. I think any film that promotes pedophilia as this cheeky little fun thing, just to be like a little quirky thing for a character to do, no. Pedophilia is terrifying. Not just on, a pure human level, but think about it from a kid's perspective. There's been many psychological journals and studies that have gone through the psychological effects of trauma from childhood, and people have been messed up from that stuff. And to put pedophilia into this ring of like, oh, it's okay because, it's being played by a cheeky actor with some quirky comedy and quirky jokes. No, fuck off. Pedophilia is not a good thing to be endorsing. And to endorse it in a movie like this is way too far. I understand that there are some things in art that, shouldn't be fully criticized. But here, there's no excuse. There's really no excuse. I don't care, if pedophilia is this sort of like underrated, like quote unquote underrated, sexual orientation. No, pedophilia is terrifying. You can't portray it like this. This is the one thing that I hate. I don't like pedophilia at all. I really don't. And to put it into this movie is downright insulting the way they actually portray it. So yeah, if the movie wasn't as bad enough, then they throw in that angle. It's pretty much a trashy film. And what do I expect at this point? Netflix has put out some pretty bad content, and eventually it's going to get to that point where it becomes just as bad as the term direct-to-DVD. And that's kind of what I fear, because Netflix can do really cool content. It's just now they're flinging money all over the place to different people without any sort of production oversight. It's just baffling. And Duncan Jones, what happened to you? You were such a cool director. You know, Moon was like one of your best films, and you reference it kind of slightly in this movie, which now kind of degrades the film, now that I think about it, considering that it's now associated with Mute. What the hell? I'm definitely going to give Mute an F. Despite the things that make it okay to watch, it's downright boring and insulting. It's terrible. It's a terrible film. This has been Nicholas Jennings, and this has been my review. Good night.